Ladies and gentlemen, Suji Reacts, and this is World War One: The Seminal Tragedy to July Crisis Extra History Part 3. Yeah, we saw the first two parts. Second part was just ridiculous how the event fell like that. The driver had to make a mistake. Archduke got, went just the wrong place he could have, where the last assassin was just sitting all depressed, basically about to move on, but then he saw the Archduke coming and that's it. So, that felt like really something scripted, but obviously it wasn't. It was a real life event. But seriously, the butterfly effect is just ridiculous. So, yeah, this is part 3. In the wake of Franz Ferdinand's assassination, the great powers of Europe scrambled to find an answer to the looming threat of war, while Germany urges Austria-Hungary to resolve the matter quickly. Russia begins to mobilize its forces to defend the Slavic state of Serbia. A handful of people across the nations recognize the danger and do their best to stop it. I mean, yeah, Europe being at war, anything like, Germany is involved, apparently Austria is involved too. Now Russia gets involved, France is going to get involved eventually. You see all these elements like the main powers of Europe having this kind of disagreements. Obviously, people are going to start to get nervous, like, goddamn, this is going to be a major war. So yeah, and it was ridiculous scale war. So yeah, let's watch this one. Remember people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cast playlist, check out the end cards, and yeah, let's watch it.
The 5th of July, 1914. The Archduke and Duchess are dead. Gavrilo Princip is in jail, but catastrophe is not yet certain. Act 2 begins. We open on an Austrian delegation arriving in Potsdam. It is now a week after the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. The Austrians want to take action. They want war with the Serbs, who they think are behind the group of ragged young men that actually pulled the trigger. But before they can have their war, they decide they must consult with their much stronger ally, the German Empire. So they send a delegation to Potsdam to meet with the Kaiser, Wilhelm II. They've been restrained before by Germany, held back from acting in the Balkans, so they need to know what Germany plans to do. They go to the Kaiser and tell him that this is intolerable, that they cannot abide such a humiliation, that they cannot let this act of terrorism go unpunished. And the Kaiser says to them, "We'll back you whatever you do. Just act and act quickly. Germany is behind you, without reservation." The Kaiser thinks that general war can be avoided, that if the Austrians strike while all of Europe is enraged over this assassination, if they act while the brutal slaughter of the Archduke and Duchess is still fresh in people's minds, no one will raise a finger to defend Serbia. And even if the Russian Empire decided that they wanted to protect their Serbian allies, if the Austrians can strike quickly, it'll be a fait accompli. The war will be over before the Russians can mobilize their forces. This is what he thinks as he tells the Austrian delegation that they have a blank check, that Germany will back them whatever they do. And then he goes on vacation, on a boat, for 3 weeks where he can't be reached. So the Austrians...
Alright, yeah, we are with you, go do your shit. Now goodbye, and just walks off. That is ridiculous, man. I mean, yeah, this is Germany's thing, right? Striking surprisingly and immediately. What is it called? Blitzkrieg or something? Yeah. So... but obviously, this just because Archduke got shot does not mean people around the world is just going to sit out and not do anything about it. Like Germany and Austria decide to invade Hungary and people like, we're fine with it because Archduke got shot. That's not going to happen. Because first of all, it's not just about Hungary. If, Russia lets Hungary fall, that's kind of, nervous situation for Russia itself. So Russia is not going to let that happen. Same thing with the France. France cannot let that happen. Germany, Austria getting even more land like that. So it's not just about Hungary. They would not let that do it, even if Archduke got shot.
Austrians come home, German assurances in hand, but in Austria there's disagreement. The Hungarian part of their empire initially objects to war. They hope that a peaceful solution might be found, but their voice is alone. Where were the other voices of reason, or the other arguments for peace? Dead on the streets of Sarajevo. The Archduke was perhaps the greatest defender of the Serbs in the empire, and so when moderation was called for, the parties for war simply had to point to his death and say, he was their greatest friend, look what they did to him, what do you think they're going to do to us? And
what? He was the biggest voice in the empire for Serbia, and those Serbian teenagers basically shot him because they thought this is revolutionary. Damn, that is as effed up.
And all arguments were quelled. So at last, the Hungarians relented on one condition, a condition that'll be important later, that the Austro-Hungarian Empire would not annex a foot of Serbian land. And with that, the Austrians began drafting an ultimatum to Serbia. But this ultimatum is delayed by a chance for peace. Two men, rivals in the heart of Serbia, in Belgrade, the very capital in the center of this crisis, are two of the only men farsighted enough to see the clouds gathering on the edge of Europe. They are the ambassador from Austria and the ambassador from Russia to Serbia. They both have come to the same conclusion about where this storm will end, so they plan to put aside their differences and meet to perhaps work out a plan for peace. On the 10th of July, the Russian ambassador arrives at the house of the ambassador from Austria-Hungary. The details are agreed to, the plan is set. All that's left is one final meeting to perhaps smooth out tensions, to avert world war. They talk, they take cigarettes, both sides are open, things are going well, and then wham! The Russian ambassador falls dead of a heart attack. Nothing signed, no war stopped. The Serbians blame the Austrians. Rumors circulate that they had the Russian ambassador assassinated.
I was just gonna say that, seriously though. I mean, that is such a effed up situation. Like, Austria obviously pissed off. Obviously, they don't want to annex Serbia, but still, they are pissed off that, an Austrian and Russian ambassador sees this because it's their job. They can see this coming, and they're like, oh shit, we can't let this happen, otherwise it would be really bad for all party involved. So they meet and actually talk about this, and then one of them dies by a heart attack. I mean, that's a, really panicky situation. I definitely think it was at the time. Like, okay, all this tension is high. Every shit is going down like this. At the time he falls of a heart attack, people are going to think that I basically poisoned him. This is effed up.
That the Austrian ambassador killed him in his own house.
Exactly.
Worse still, this leaves the Russians without an ambassador in Serbia. As events begin to accelerate toward war, they have no diplomatic channel at the center of everything, no lines of communication, no eyes or ears on the ground. They have nobody with the experience, connections, or familiarity with Serbia that the former ambassador had to send out. And even if they did, it'd take weeks to get them appointed and shipped from Moscow to Sarajevo. Weeks they don't have. But with this last overture turning to catastrophe...
Okay, this might be a bit, Hollywoodish thinking. Or maybe the elements who wanted war knew that he didn't want war. So maybe they did poison him and killed him so there is no agreement reached. That's a bit of conspiracy.
The Austrians decide it's finally time to send their ultimatum. But they can't. Again, they delay. You see, President Poincaré, the leader of France, is going to Russia to meet with the Tsar, and the Austrians, ever nervous, decide that they can't send the ultimatum while their two greatest adversaries are meeting together in the same place. It would never do. They could make decisions too quickly. They could coordinate in ways they normally couldn't when they're 1,000 miles apart. So the Austrians delay. They wait until Poincaré is 100 miles out to sea before sending their ultimatum. But at last, on the 23rd of July, an ultimatum is sent, from the Austrians to the Serbs. The Serbs have 48 hours to agree to all points or face war. The ultimatum asks many things, but most of all, it asks that Austrian police be granted free rein to investigate the assassination on Serbian soil. This is impossible. To agree to such a thing is tantamount to giving up sovereignty. No nation would accept this. But that's alright, because the ultimatum is only a ruse anyway, a cover for what the Austrians really want. The Austrians want war. They want the ultimatum to be rejected because they want to appear to the world as though they gave the Serbs a chance to avoid a conflict. They want to appear blame-free for the invasion they're planning. And here's where things begin to speed up.
Yeah, that is some really political, bullshit right there, isn't it? I mean, they know that there's no way in hell they're gonna let that happen. Otherwise, it's giving up sovereignty like that. So, but they also want to, appear in front of public. See, we were the reasonable one. So, obviously we are going to go to war. That is just effed up, man. Damn. I mean, this is why there is such thing as Interpol now in Europe, I guess, who can investigate any European countries, EU countries, I guess. I guess this could be one of the reasons why, the issues like this don't rise up. Like somebody from other country dies and people like, okay, we want our people to investigate, but they might create lots of political issues. So Interpol, there you go, I guess, I don't know.
Europe begins to boil. Up until this point, the crisis in the Balkans is just another event on the world stage, but all of a sudden, with the release of this ultimatum, people start to clue into what's happening. Powers outside of Austria, Germany, and Serbia begin to pay attention. But for us, we're going to turn our attention to one man, Sergei Sazonov. Sergei Sazonov was the foreign minister of Russia, and for him, the 24th of July is about to be a very, very busy day. In the morning, he wakes to receive the terms of the ultimatum that Austria sent to Serbia. He reads quietly to himself, then turns to an aide and fatefully utters, "It's a European war." A cabinet meeting is hastily...
Yeah, me knew this is bullshit. He knew that Austrians know that there is no way in hell they are going to agree to let, them investigate on that soil. because that would mean giving up the sovereignty, like the video said. So he knew that. So he knows that the intention of those people is just go to war and look good in front of public, I guess.
Assembled. The highest levels of the Russian government are all there. They resolve to ask the Austrians to give the Serbs more time, while at the same time pushing the Serbs not to resist the Austrians. They also make the fateful decision to begin a partial mobilization of their forces along the Austrian border, trying to play all the angles at once in the schizophrenic chaos that seemed all too common in the days just before the war. Now it's noon. Sazonov takes lunch with the French and British ambassador. The French ambassador reiterates France's complete support. The British ambassador says that Britain sympathizes but that he can't make any commitments. Now it's afternoon. The Russian ministers reconvene. With Sazonov confirming the unwavering support of the French, they decide to fully back Serbia, even to the point of war. And now it's evening.
Hold up there. I thought by, reacting to that Epic History TV World War video that Germany just attacked France because they thought France would mobilize anyway, since France is the ally of Russia. But clearly they already declared in advance, like, we are with you. We're with, I guess, Serbia and Russia. So, of course Germany is going to attack then. I mean, they just said it that we are with you.
Sazonov meets with Portales, the ambassador from Germany. Portales begs Sazonov to call off Russian mobilization. He tells him that there must be solidarity between the monarchies, that they must work together or all fall alone. The argument gets heated. Portales tells Sazonov there will be revolution. Revolution in Europe if the monarchies do not work together. If they don't work together, all the crowns will fall. And he's right. Within 5 years, all the great monarchies of Europe, true monarchies, monarchies where the monarch was the head of state, would collapse. Within 5 years, the Ottoman Empire...
Yeah, that is true, isn't it? World War I kind of marks that, the trend through Europe where, main power monarchies fell, basically.
The Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Russian Empire, and the German Empire would be no more. Their kings dispossessed, thousands of years of monarchical tradition burnt away in the fires of cataclysmic war. Then something tragic happened.
So basically, like, the Great War happens, lots of people die, and everybody around the world like, okay, that's it, no monarchy, fuck that. Screw those kings.
It's one of those small tragedies that lines the path to the First World War, those things that tear you up as you read about these events with perfect hindsight. It's one of those moments that almost makes this seem like a script, like a high drama constructed for the stage, until you realize how...
I already feel like a script since the past video where Arctic got shot, because, imagine the circumstance. The guy basically sitting, somewhere eating, I don't know, sandwich or something. Archduke wasn't supposed to be there, but the driver was stupid enough to, make turn there because he didn't know the streets. He was not from there. So, the Archduke takes wrong turn and goes exactly the place where, last assassin is sitting and eating his food. I mean, this just feels like this is like, fate or something, like scripted or something. Obviously, that's not the case, but still.
Real it is. Real enough to wipe out a generation. For you see, Sazonov utters the words, "If Austria-Hungary swallows Serbia, we will go to war." Did you catch it? If not, that's alright. Yeah. Neither did Portales.
Austria-Hungary already said that they're not going to annex it, right?
Portales, who so desperately wants to avoid war. You see, Russia's main concern was that Austria would annex Serbia. If the Austrians planned to conquer Serbia, then it had to be war. But remember earlier, when the Austro-Hungarians were arguing among themselves about the ultimatum, that Hungarian element wouldn't lend its voice to war unless the other members of the Austro-Hungarian Empire agreed that they would not annex a foot of Serbian soil. Well, nobody told Portales. He was the German ambassador, not the Austrian ambassador, and somehow the memo never got to him that the Austrians had no plans to actually take over Serbia. So in their whole discussion, he never gets to communicate this to Sazonov. This may be one of the last moments where...
imagine the level of nervousness you have to be that you actually miss this point like that. Obviously the circumstances were like that he missed telling him or something. But still, that is just effed up. That one small detail. So far this is the third video in this series, and so far I've catch so many times that, just one small thing basically leads to war. Otherwise, the war could have been prevented, at least for the time being. So this is just weird, man. Obviously, Russia would only go to war if they annex Serbia, because then it means that it's danger for Russia. It's not clearly, for Serbia or something. It's a threat to themselves. Like if, Germany and Austria basically takes over Serbia like that, then the threat increases for Russia and the allied countries. So they can't let that happen. So that was the issue. But they already said we are not going to annex this. So that this could have prevented the war.
The world could have avoided this war. Portales impassioned, begging for peace. Sazonov firmly stating the Russian case. The two diplomats meeting in the quiet St. Petersburg night. But the world hinges on small things, and in that gentle night, one of the last the world would know for years, the opportunity is missed. The hands of fate tighten around the neck of Europe. The next day, the Austrians reject demands that they extend the deadline, the Kaiser at last decides to return to Germany, and 2 minutes before the ultimatum expires, the Serbians send Austria their reply. But that's a story for next time. We'll see you then.
Yeah. Obviously, not many people, especially common people, had the hindsight at the time. They probably wouldn't have thought, like, come on, man, this is not going to end up like that. But still, the people who had hindsight, the ambassadors and things, they must have been really nervous, like, oh no, what is happening? This is going to be really bad. Germany, Austria, Russia, France, all of these main powers involved. Obviously, Britain's going to involve too if all of those people get involved. Damn, the Great War, there you go. All the pieces had to fall just in right place to this happen. I mean, that's the after thing about it. Small thing here and there could have stopped the war. But all the pieces had to fit in the right place. Alright people, that was World War I, the Seminal Tragedy, July Crisis. If you like my reaction, don't forget, like and subscribe. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. Check out the cast playlist, check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.